Let's get to this latest policy announcement regarding stamp duty. The Prime Minister has said that he wants to axe stamp duty for first-time buyers up to £425,000. Apparently that's going to go into the manifesto. That will be about 200,000 households that would benefit from that. Let's now cross live to Callum McGoldrick from the Taxpayers Alliance. Morning to you, Callum.
Hi, good morning.
So I presume that this policy would be welcomed by the Taxpayers Alliance, taking many people out of stamp duty if they're a first-time buyer, up to £425,000, which is a pretty hefty sum of money, even here in London.
Yeah, I think, well, you look at it, I think the current stamp duty threshold is about 250,000 and it would be rising to 425, which we would welcome. I think, though, if we're deciding that stamp duty is unfair on first-time buyers, it shouldn't really have a cap, just get rid of it entirely for first-time buyers at least.
Well, yes, but if a first-time buyer is spending £1 million, many people would say, well, look, if you're spending £1 million on your first property, you probably could afford to contribute something towards stamp duty.
Sure, but you're looking at London prices now where £1 million house really isn't that impressive. It might be 2 or 3 bedrooms.
Yes, but if you're then going to say that it's other parts of the country, £425,000 would surely be enough.
In other parts of the country, sure, but then I'm not too sure how many houses are actually worth that much in sort of more
So
rural.
you would want to see you don't think this goes far enough. You'd like to see stamp duty either abolished or have a much higher threshold for first time buyers.
Yeah, certainly for first-time buyers. We've got a housing crisis. We're only building 212,000 houses a year, and there's a massive shortage of it. We should really be doing everything possible to aid first-time buyers.
Let's talk about tax because the Institute for Fiscal Studies has basically pointed that there is no political party. I think it's not just the IFS that have said this, but there really isn't a political party that is running in the election this year that can make the kinds of commitments that they are. Perhaps the Greens is an exception because they have been honest about putting on this wealth tax and the like, but certainly the main parties making those commitments that they have when it comes to either social care, when it comes to either improving the NHS, when it comes to anything, housing, all of these things, education, anything that they have, any tax rises that they have put forward wouldn't cover it. And their commitments to not actually raise personal tax, income tax, and all of those sorts of things, they cannot deliver what they are saying they will deliver by making those promises to not raise the taxes that they have promised not to. So can we trust any of them on tax is my question.
Well, it's an election time. I think it wouldn't be the first year that the parties have made promises that they know are probably quite difficult to keep. When we look at the Conservatives, they've promised massive spending projects. They've costed national service at over 1 billion. They've costed the triple lock plus at 2.4 billion and the child benefit allowance increase at over 1 billion as well. They've also said that they won't put taxes up, but this is a government that are presiding over a 70-year high tax burden. So I would assume that they would just put taxes up again, even if not in terms of rates, but through fiscal drag.
Okay, but Labour have been honest in saying they'll put the VAT on school fees in order to finance more teachers in schools. They've not made and getting rid of some of like the non-dom and some other loopholes. Many economists saying again, this is not going to be enough to fulfil your spending commitments. You're going to have to put personal taxes or indirect taxes up.
So yeah, I think Labour I said that they'd earn 1.6 billion through the VAT on private schools, but there'll also be as many as 200,000 currently privately educated children going into state schools. So a huge percentage of that would then be eaten up by increased state costs from the same policy. Labour's full manifesto comes out this week, I think, where they'll cost a few more of their plans. But I don't think that they'll be able to follow all of their plans without putting taxes up as well.
The Lib Dems have said that they think they'll raise £4 billion by changing some of the tax rules that they have, and also they're costing this social care policy that they have by basically reversing these tax cuts given to big banks, getting rid of the share buyback tax, and they think that they're going to raise £4 billion by doing that in order to provide free care. However, also, some health bodies and the like say that social care, that is a drop in the ocean as to what social care will actually cost. So again, if you were thinking of voting Liberal Democrat based on that policy, you may find yourself paying higher taxes in order to fund that social care. Would you agree with their assessment?
Yeah, I think the other thing that all of the parties should be looking at that they're not, yeah, I think Nigel Farage has mentioned it as the only person, is that we have a ridiculously long tax code. The full tax code's over 23,000 pages. It's the longest in the world. You'd think that by streamlining that somewhat, you'd remove a lot of the admin cost of actually going after it. The National Audit Office says that over 6 billion is lost every year to fraud and people not paying taxes properly. I don't know, but I would wonder how much of that is just because people don't actually understand the tax code.
So you think it might be, whatever party goes in government, the way in which our tax system is structured, it actually becomes self-fulfilling because it's so complicated that actually it leaves it open potentially to fraud or potentially to people just not getting it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that out of that 6 billion, that would fund the Conservatives' promises, which is what they've said. I'm not sure how much of it they could actually recuperate that quickly in order to pay for it straight away. So we'd still likely have to see taxes go up, but
It's a
it's a large amount.
pretty grim choice if you're voting based on tax for this election. Callum McGoldrick, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us from the Taxpayers Alliance.